Today is January 28th, 2025. This is a letter written to address Ethiopian technocrats and professionals. This is a call to leadership. Good day to my esteemed brothers and sisters. Let me begin by acknowledging the immense contributions you, Ethiopia's finest minds, have made to this world. When you look at it from Ethiopian point of view, you are the part of that brain drain. I am a part of that brain drain. My name is Abebe Negash, and I stand before you today as an Ethiopian by birth, an engineer by profession, and an advocate for transformative change. I am a middle-aged bridge between two generations, the passionate youth movements of the 1960s and the innovative, yet often sidelined professionals of today. I have never been involved in Ethiopia's murky politics, but I speak to you now from the United States on behalf of Ethiopian Hearts for Peace, a movement dedicated to reimagining Ethiopia's future. And so, I must ask you directly, why have we, the most educated and capable of among Ethiopia's people, surrendered our nation's fate to politicians? Why should politicians who thrive on rhetoric and divisive narratives lead Ethiopia, while technocrats who base decisions on real-time data and evidence remain sidelined? Why should governance be driven by emotions rather than facts, by division rather than unity, by personal gain rather than public good? And there is another question, one that challenges the very foundation of the current system of governance. Do you truly, 100%, belong to one ethnic group as defined by the political framework imposed on Ethiopia today? If the day comes when advanced AI technology platform and DNA testing to trace out ancestral origins, to where would your lineage point? Ethiopia is already proven to be the cradle of humanity, the origin of all mankind. Is that not true? And even then, science tells us that we, as humans, are 99.999% identical in our genetic makeup. So I ask again, why are we fighting over the 0.0001% of our less than makes us different? The people are calling. The soil, rich with history and untapped potential, is calling. Ethiopia itself is calling for its brightest minds to rise and say, enough. Enough of governance built on mistrust and ignorance. Enough of decisions that are short-sighted and regressive. Enough of systems that divide us when the future demands unity. Do we, as technocrats, want to stand on the sidelines while Ethiopia burns, content with observing from a distance or within the confines of our profession? Or do we want to lead? Not because we seek power, but because we possess the tools to rebuild Ethiopia on a foundation of knowledge, reason, and unity. The time has come to ask ourselves, what legacy will leave for future generations? Will it be one of complacency or courage? Will it be one of retreat or responsibility? The people of Ethiopia deserve governance that prioritizes competence over rhetoric, results over promises, and unity over division. So, I call upon you, engineers, scientists, doctors, educators, and innovators. Will you rise to this challenge? Will you bring your expertise to the table and guide Ethiopia towards the future it deserves? Or will you leave it to the same politicians who have failed time and again to deliver progress? The answer is yours, and the future of Ethiopia depends on it. Let's work together, not just as professionals but as patriots, to create a nation where knowledge, justice, and unity prevail. Let us fulfill the promise of our land and ensure that Ethiopia thrives for generations to come. The time is now. The call is urgent. Let us answer it with wisdom, with action, and with hope. One more time, I must ask you directly, why have we, the most educated and capable among Ethiopia's people, surrender our nation fate to politicians? Why should politicians, who often lack technical knowledge, ethical grounding, or a forward-thinking vision, lead Ethiopia into an era they barely understand? Why should governance be dominated by those who speak endlessly but deliver so little, instead of those who know how to design, implement, and manage systems that create real change? Why should Ethiopia's destiny rest in the hands of individuals whose loyalty are often divided, whose pockets are often filled with foreign money, and whose goals rarely align with the needs of the Ethiopian people? So, I say this to you. Consider this. In any other arena of life, we trust experts. We trust engineers to build our bridges, doctors to heal our bodies, and economists to stabilize our markets. Yet, when it comes to the most critical task of all, governing a nation, we hand the reins to politicians, many of whom have no qualification beyond rhetoric and ambition. This is not governance, it is gambling. Look at Ethiopia today. It is a country rich in resources and talent, but impoverished by corruption, inefficiency, and divisive politics. Decisions are made not by those who understand infrastructure, education, healthcare, or technology, but by those whose main skill lie in manipulating public opinion and securing their own power. This balance has cost us dearly. I say this not to cast blame but to provoke thought. Why have technocrats allowed themselves to be sidelined? Why have you, Ethiopia's brightest and the best, watched from the margins as politicians make decisions that affect millions of lives, often with disastrous consequences? Why have you chosen the role of advisors or implementers rather than leaders? If Ethiopia is to rise, it must be led by those who know how to build, not just buildings or systems, but trust, unity, and a sustainable future. It must be led by those who understand the complexities of our challenges and have the expertise to solve them. Governance should not be about rhetoric, it should be about results. To my fellow technocrats, I am not calling for a rejection of politics, but for its transformation. Politics, in its sense, is about organizing people and resources to achieve common goals. Who better to do this than you, the experts who already organize systems, solve problems, and create value? Who better to envision a future for Ethiopia than those who understand the forces shaping the modern world? Globalization, technology, climate change, and economic innovation. We cannot continue to leave Ethiopia's future in the hands of politicians who lack the capacity to lead us into the 21st century. Leadership must be redefined. It must become a responsibility, not a privilege, a duty to serve, not an opportunity to enrich oneself. And it must include you, the technocrats, at its very core. Let me ask this. If not you, then who? If not now, then when? Will you continue to allow Ethiopia to be governed by those who divide it rather than unite, who exploit rather than empower? Or will you step forward and claim the role that your knowledge, skills, and love for Ethiopia have prepared you for? Let's not be bystanders, folks. Let's not be bystanders to Ethiopia's future. Let us be its architects. Let us create a governance model that prioritizes expertise over ego, service over self-interest, and unity over division. Let us build an Ethiopia where decisions are guided by data, strategy, and long-term vision, not by short-term politics. You have the tools, the knowledge, and the experience. All you need is the will. So I urge you, rise to the challenge, step into the arena. So join us in transforming Ethiopia from a land of potential to a land of progress. The future is not something we inherit. It is something we build. And I can think of no better builders than you. Together, let us forge a new path for Ethiopia, one led by technocrats, shaped by wisdom, and driven by a shared vision of unity and prosperity. Let me ask you something. When did we, the most capable minds of Ethiopia, accept the sidelines as our place in history? When did we decide that it was acceptable for politicians who often peddle division, empty rhetoric, and self-interest to take the lead, while we, the builders and problem solvers of society, watch passively? Think about this. Why should rhetoric be the currency of governance when real-time data and evidence are readily available? Why should division win over unity when we, as technocrats, know the power of interconnected systems and collective progress? And there is a provocative question to challenge the very framework of our current governance. Do you truly believe that you are 100% a member of one ethnic group as defined by the current system? If advanced AI technology were to trace your DNA, would your ancestors not reveal connections across borders, regions, and even continents? Ethiopia is proven to be the cradle of humanity, the very origin of mankind. Yet, we are tearing ourselves apart over the 0.001% of genetic differences that separates us, instead of celebrating the 99.99% that unites us. The people are calling. Can you hear them? The soil, rich with potential, calls for your expertise. The rivers, flowing with promise, beg for your innovation. The mountains, towering with pride, demand your leadership. Ethiopia is crying out for you. It is brightest minds, its problem solvers, its visionaries to rise from our slumber and take our rightful place at the helm. Let me speak to you plainly. Do you not see what happens when leadership is left to those who lack the knowledge, the vision, and the moral compass to guide us forward? Politicians have failed us time and time again. They have sold our fertile lands to foreign interests, displaced our people, and plunged us into a cycle of division and despair. They exploit your brilliance to build infrastructure and systems, but exclude you from the decision making that determines the fate of the very country you love. And yet, you remain silent. I ask, why? Is it fear? Is it complacency? Or have you convinced yourself that your role is merely to observe from the sidelines? Let me remind you, history is not kind to those who remain silent in times of moral crisis. Look around you. The world is advancing at an unprecedented pace, powered by technology, data, and innovation. Fields that you, Ethiopian technocrats, are deeply embedded in. And yet, Ethiopia lags behind, shackled by outdated systems and divisive politics. Why should Ethiopia not rise as a leader in renewable energy, in technology, in agriculture? Why should Ethiopia, blessed with some of the most favorable climate and natural resources, be a land of hunger and strife? It's blessed in many ways. I ask you, what will you tell your children when they ask you what you did during Ethiopia's darkest hours? Will you say you watched? That you hesitated? That you stayed silent while others, less qualified, less visionary, shaped the future of your nation? Let me warn you about what happens when technocrats abandon their duty. Ethiopia becomes a playground for incompetency. Politicians thrive on division while the people suffer. Foreign powers exploit our resources and use technology, including AI, to tighten borders, monitor migrants, and reduce our people to statistics. Meanwhile, young girls are sent to Gulf nations as housemaids, legal human trafficking disguised as opportunity. Is this the Ethiopia you want to leave behind? But it doesn't have to be this way. You, yes, you have the power to change this narrative. You have the knowledge to design systems that work. You have the expertise to solve problems that seem insurmountable. You have the vision to see beyond tribalism and build a nation that thrives on unity and progress. So, I ask you, will you rise? Will you answer the call of history? Or will you allow Ethiopia's brightest minds to remain sidelined while the nation crumbles? The time for silence is over. The time for action is now. Together, as technocrats and patriots, we can reimagine Ethiopia. We can build a nation where competency triumphs over rhetoric. Our innovation drives progress, and where unity becomes our greatest strength. The people are calling. Ethiopia is calling. The future is calling. Will you answer? Thank you. And thank you very much. This is part 2, addressed for technocrats. This is a vision, a radical vision for Ethiopia's current situation. A vision where modular governance system is deployed. This is not just a governance system, it is philosophical revolution, a shift from the hierarchical, centralized, divisive systems of power that have perpetuated violence, corruption, and exclusion, and so on. It is time for Ethiopia to embrace a model that transcends the binary of ethnic divides and political factions. And instead of merely tinkering with the old, we are proposing a complete reimagination of governance itself, one that is powered by the collective wisdom of its people, its ancient cultures, and its capacity for technological advancement. What is it? It is simply a power to the people. It's a radical, direct democracy. In the modular governance system, power doesn't sit solely with elected representatives or traditional authorities. It belongs to the people. We can no longer afford to entrust the fate of a nation to distant elites or self-serving politicians who continually fail to deliver. It's a decentralized direct democracy. Every Ethiopian citizen is empowered to engage directly in the decision-making process. Through secure blockchain-based voting system, citizens can vote on critical national issues, from economic policies to ethical standards, not in closed doors. These decisions are binding, ensuring that the government reflects the will of the people, not a disconnected ruling class. So this is real-time governance. The system would allow citizens to monitor, review, and vote on policies and leadership decisions in real time. That is by using an artificial intelligence powered platform that acts as both a communication tool and a dynamic voting system. This puts the power of governance in the hands of every Ethiopian, ensuring that no leader can act outside the will of the people. So let's see the rise of the Council of Wisdom. Beyond politics, embracing culture and knowledge. Traditional leadership models have failed to unite Ethiopia because they have been entangled in political games. We need to create a new authority rooted in wisdom, ethics, and foresight. A body that goes beyond politics and taps into the nation's deepest resources, its people, moral compass, and cultural intelligence. What is a Council of Wisdom? It's a choice. Rather than relying on politicians or technocrats, a Council of Wisdom would be established, composed of diverse representatives, elders, intellectuals, ethicists, cultural leaders, and visionaries, and so on. This council's role would be to set a moral and ethical direction of the country, guiding the government and ensuring that all policies reflect Ethiopia's core values of unity, peace, and justice. This council will be accountable to the people and hold veto power over decisions that threaten the nation's integrity. There is also a cultural reclamation on this. Cultural reclamation. The council would also lead in the revitalization of Ethiopia's diverse cultural heritage. And instead of seeing ethnicity as a division, Ethiopia's various cultures would be celebrated as the nation's collective strength. The council could spearhead projects that merge Ethiopia's ancient wisdom with modern needs, such as cultural festivals, educational programs, and indigenous knowledge systems that are integrated into the national curriculum. What will drive this? It will be technology. Technology as a force for justice and transparency. We can use it. This is a total re-engineering of governance, and we have the tools. The tool, as we know it, many of us worked on it. It's a modular governance system. Will be powered by the latest in AI, blockchain, and decentralized tech, fostering transparency, accountability, and participation. But this isn't just about tech for tech's sake. It is about utilizing technology in ways that are radical and transformative, changing the very nature of how power is exercised and monitored. AI is the future. AI for collective intelligence can be used. And instead of AI being used as a tool for surveillance or operation or a drone-like weapon, we will leverage it for collective decision making. Imagine an AI that isn't just a tool for the state but a mediator of truth. A platform that can shift through the voices of millions, analyzing grievances, proposing solutions, and providing real-time feedback on national policy. It can help. It can help identify systemic injustices, track corruption, and suggest ethical frameworks for governance. This AI would work hand in hand with the Council of Wisdom, but its decisions would always be transparent and subject to the judgment of the people. What is blockchain of justice? Blockchain will be used not only for voting but also for land ownership, resources, and public accountability. It will serve as an immutable record of ownership, ensuring that no one can seize resources or manipulate land titles for political gain. It will also function as a transparent ledger for public spending, giving citizens direct access to the financial transaction of the state. So this is the end of the political class. The end of the political class, governance through service, not the power. That's a motto. One of the radical components of the modular governance system is the complete deconstruction of the political class as it has existed. No longer will we have politicians who are solely defined by their political affiliation or ethnic identity. Instead, leadership will be based on service, not power. We want elected leaders as public servants. Leaders will be chosen for their ability to serve, not because of their allegiance to any political or ethnic group. These leaders will be rotating officials, selected by their expertise and their ability to solve real issues for their communities. They will not serve for more than a set of period, ensuring that power remains fluid and non-consolidated. This model prevents the rise of political elites who seek to perpetuate their own power. So in a sense, we're talking about citizen governance. Rather than merely voting for leaders every few years, citizens will have continuous access to their representatives through transparent digital platforms. These representatives will be required to submit regular open reports on their actions. And any citizen can challenge decisions, propose new policies, or vote to recall a representative who isn't performing according to the public interest. So there will be justice without borders. This is a new reckoning for Ethiopian past. The system's radicality also extends to justice and reconciliation. That's what we need. Past atrocities, especially the ones committed during the TPLF's rise to power and till today, cannot simply be swept under the rug. But we cannot let them define our future either. So we must fight. There has to be a revolutionary truth and a reconciliation. Ethiopia needs a truth and a reconciliation process that goes beyond what we have seen in the past. This isn't just about documenting the past. It is about setting the strategy for healing in ways that are both reparative and restorative. This process should be completely independent of the political system, ensuring it remains impartial. Those responsible for violence must face justice, but the focus must also be on healing and the reintegration of communities. Technocrats need to form a global Ethiopian diaspora networks. In part, the Ethiopian Hearts for Peace is trying to bridge that gap. We need global Ethiopian diaspora network. The diaspora, often disconnected from Ethiopia's political turmoil, will be actively engaged in shaping the nation's future. They will also be not only sources of remittance, but of ideas, leadership, and investment in the country's regeneration. Through technology, the diaspora will have a voice in governance, wherever they may be, participating in real time, national discussions, and contributing to decision-making process. One very important, very critical action we need to take is breaking free from the tyranny of ethnicity, so we can have a shared future, not a divided one. Ultimately, the modular governance system is about a radical vision for Ethiopian future. Didn't we say that? One where ethnicity is no longer the defining factor of one's identity in relation to the state. Rather, Ethiopian identity becomes synonymous with shared values, common goals, and mutual respect. So therefore, we need to reframe national identity. Ethiopian identity must move beyond ethnic boundaries. It should become a dynamic, evolving identity that celebrates difference while fostering unity. We are Ethiopian first, not defined by our ethnic groups, but by our commitment to a just, peaceful, and inclusive society. So, to get there, we first need to have inclusive dialogue for peace. The AI platforms and the wisdom councils will constantly drive national dialogues, keeping the conversation about unity, justice, and reconciliation at the forefront. This isn't about erasing identity. Don't make a mistake about it. It is about acknowledging that the future of Ethiopia is more important than the division of its past. It is vast, but direct governance system. So it will define Ethiopia's bold new era. The modular governance system offers a radically new vision for Ethiopia, one that isn't afraid to challenge the status quo. This is a bold, transformative idea rooted in the value of justice, inclusivity, and collective participation. It requires Ethiopia to think far beyond the old structures of power, to look toward a future where power truly belongs to the people, where technology serves the collective good, and where the voices of all citizens shape the destiny of their country. We are crafting a new Ethiopia, one that does not just change the government, it changes the very nature of governance itself. Ethiopia's destiny is in the hands of its people. It's time to reclaim that power. If you feel like you are a technocrat or able, educated, and have something to contribute, please don't hesitate to contact Ethiopian Hearts for Peace. Again, my name is Abebe Negash. I have been reading to you on behalf of this organization. Thank you very much.